Okay, so now let's talk about how your subconscious mind is programmed, how all of these automatic behaviors and thoughts gets programmed into you. There's three ways. The first way is genetics. The second way is conscious learning. And the third way is a download that happens when you were young. Okay, let's talk about the first one, genetics. Genetics, it's in our DNA. It's the way we are functioned. So it's automated in sense of example, like when you're breathing, that's part of the genetics. Everybody needs to breathe. Heart rate, moving of your heart, your hormones, how your digestive system works, how your neural system works. All of this coordination is just imprinted into your DNA, how your body has been created. So that's genetics. The second way that our subconscious mind is programmed, all of these automatic behaviors is programmed, is through conscious learning. So think about a time when you had to learn how to ride a bike or how you had to learn to drive a car. The first time you had to think of all of the things that you needed to do, how to move the steering wheel, what to do with your feet, like where to look before you turn, like what are the things I have to watch out for while I'm doing all of those movements. It's such a complicated coordination. But after a while, you get used to it and you learn the skill. And after a while, it becomes easier because as you learn the skill, you pass it on to your subconscious. So now, when you're riding a bike or you're driving, you can think about other things. I can think about what to have for dinner tonight, or I can think about that email that I want to write to my boss when I get home, or I can think of what party I'm going to attend this weekend. So all of these things I can do now because that skill of driving a car or riding a bike has become automatic. So that's one thing. That's how um, we can learn or program our subconscious skills, behaviors. Okay? So these are also things that we learn, we consciously learn. So, for example, when you're young, you've been taught to brush your teeth. And at first, you had to be coerced or bribed to brush your teeth every morning and every evening. But now, because it's become a habit, it's become a pattern, you just brush your teeth without thinking at all. So behaviors become routine. Or, for example, if in school you've been taught to say ma'am or sir to someone in authority, then this behavior becomes ingrained in you. Another thing that we get trained on is our likes and dislikes. When you're young, you go through a whole gamut of experience. Have you seen kids that are willing to try anything? They're trying to put anything in their mouth. But as they try things, they have that experience. Okay, I tried a kiwi. Ooh, I don't like it. It's too sour. Or I like mangoes. Or I like oranges. And so as you make that decision, it becomes automatic now. It becomes programmed in your brain that I like mangoes, I don't like kiwis, I like pineapples, I don't like coconuts. So when you go into a cafeteria or when you order from a menu, you don't have to think about, do I like to eat beef or not? Or do I like fish or not? Because you've already made a decision long ago what you like and what you don't like. Another thing that happens is your emotions get programmed as well. Think about a situation or someone that you enjoy being with. So at first, you don't know the person and you don't have as much experience, but as you keep meeting that person and that person becomes like, oh, this person has a lot of stories, this person has a lot of good things, is very supportive, then you have that emotion of goodwill towards that person, and every time you see that person you like them. Or on the other hand, when your boss keeps coming into your cubicle and asking you to do impossible things, then you'll start feeling that cringing feeling every time you see your boss, because I know what he's going to ask me to do. It becomes associated with a certain emotions. So certain emotions get pre-programmed into us in certain situations, and you see a similar situation happening, you start cringing again because you feel it's going to happen again. It becomes an automatic reaction to a person, an automatic emotion to a situation. And the last one is your beliefs. Sometimes you have life experiences that stay with you throughout life. It's like what some people call a learning experience, kind of. So I'll give you an example. My father in law, when he was young, he was taught to share. So he was said, okay, you share your toys with the other kids in the sandbox. And he didn't want to, but he was forced to by his mom. So he shared his bucket with the little kid beside him. And guess what happened? The kid like took the bucket and hit him on the head. This was a life experience for him. Now he's having a hard time believing that other people can be altruistic, having a hard time believing that sharing is caring, like what we teach our kids. So, life experience. Sometimes we go through a life experience that's so difficult, like you give everything and then the person still rejects you. And in your mind, you say, never again. I'm never going to experience that again. And so this becomes a belief. Every time I give 110%, it's not worth it because I just expose myself to the risk of being rejected. This becomes a belief that stays with you throughout your life. So this is another subconscious automatic belief. Here's what I want to show you what it looks like in the brain when you're learning something. Okay. So the first diagram here shows you the long path. So you first encounter a new experience, a new person, a new object, and you don't know what it is. It sends your thalamus sends it all the way throughout your brain to your frontal lobe to make a decision. It gives you all of the information about what it looks like, what it tastes like, what the experience is like, what your sound smells like, what you feel, and gives a decision to your CEO of your brain, your frontal lobe. And then your frontal lobe sends back a signal down to your amygdala of what's excited about that event. Is it a good event or is it a bad event? Judgment, right? It makes a good or bad judgment. Do I want it in my life or do I not want it in my life? Next time it happens, it could still send it, but as it keeps sending it, what happens after a while is your brain subconscious says, oh, I know what the boss wants. I'm not going to send it to him for decision anymore. I'm just going to do a shortcut. So that's why after a while, it takes the short path, which is the second. It skips over your decision making and it becomes automated, right? So this is what happens when you're learning something. When you learn a new behavior, a new skill, a new belief, or a new like or dislike, this is what happens. Okay, so now let's go to the third way that the subconscious is programmed. And the third way is an evolutionary mechanism. Because as humans evolve, our societies change so rapidly. So what was true during my generation would be different from what's true in my parents' generation. And it's different from what's true in my grandmother's generation. So the child needs to learn a lot of new things all at once they're born into this new generation, this new world. These things cannot be genetically programmed because they keep changing every time. You can genetically program a kid every generation. So what the brain has learned to do is to have what's called a download, a program download. Call it initial download, just like in a computer. What happens is when you're young, I think it's 2 to 7 years old, your brain goes into like the theta wave. And that's the time when kids absorb everything. Haven't you noticed this? Like a kid would watch a commercial just once. And after just seeing it once, they've memorized the whole jingle already, right? It's crazy. Or you don't even need to teach them deliberately something, and they just learn it. They just observe you and then they learn it right away. So kids are sponges during this time. They learn everything that's acceptable and not acceptable during this time. So if at this time you're going through a hard time and you had certain beliefs about how the world works, your kids gonna absorb that during this time, no matter how hard you try to hide it, because they have some kind of ESP that absorbs all of these beliefs that you have. So these are the three ways that our subconscious automatic responses, automatic reactions have been programmed. What we're going to do next is we're going to look at how we can reprogram our subconscious using conscious learning. And there's also ways to reprogram it by bringing your mind to that theta stage. Isn't it interesting? So I'll see you in the next video, and we'll start with practices next.